Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. Our podcast is now available on Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Soundcloud, YouTube, and more is coming. In the second episode of Oss Diskutere podcast, we're going to be talking about work, as the title says, of course, but we're going to be focusing on the future of jobs. This episode is deeply inspired by Chapter 2 of Yuval Noah Harari's book, 21 Lessons for the 21st Century. It is a no-brainer to say that this book, as well as the other two famous books, Homo Deus and Homo Sapiens, are indeed highly recommended. And now, Oss Diskutere arbeid. We have no idea what the job market will look like in 2050. It is generally agreed that machine learning and robotics will change almost every line of work. By this very powerful statement starts Yuval the chapter. Some voices here and there believe that within a decade or two, millions, if not billions, of people will find themselves out of the job market as their efforts are no longer needed. Well, yes, the majority still believe in the contrary, and that even in the long run, automation will keep generating new jobs, and this dystopian view of the future is not really valid. Since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, for every job lost to the machine, at least one new job was created, and the average standard of living has increased dramatically. However, there are some reasons to think that this might not be the case this time. We, humans, have two types of abilities, physical and cognitive. Machines, on the other hand, have been competing with humans mainly in raw physical abilities. We know how machines invaded the fields of agriculture and industry, but we got new jobs which required the kind of cognitive skills only humans have. However, artificial intelligence, AI, is now beginning to outperform us humans in more and more of these skills. Those of you who know Yuval's books know the term hacking humans. According to his mentality, researchers and scientists in the last few decades in areas of neuroscience and behavioral economics managed to hack humans. They know now how we make decisions. It turned out that our choices of everything from food to mates result not from some mysterious free will, but rather from billions of neurons calculating probabilities within a split second. What on earth does that mean? Let's go a bit deeper inside this hypothesis. Good drivers, bankers, and lawyers do not have magical intuitions about traffic, investment, or negotiation. What they actually have is the ability to recognize recurring patterns. In other words, almost nothing in our daily life is new and completely unprecedented. And when we say almost, we think about how even good drivers, bankers, and lawyers sometimes make very stupid mistakes. If it's all about patterns, then AI can outperform humans even in tasks that supposedly demand intuition. When we think that AI needs to compete against mystical hunches only successful and sophisticated people have, then that sounds impossible, yes. But if AI really needs to compete against neural networks in calculating probabilities and recognizing patterns, well, that sounds really doable, right? At the end of the day, it's just calculating. Now, let's talk about the two most important non-human abilities AI has: connectivity and updatability. Connectivity as in working in networks, and updatability as in how fresh is the data and information I or you or the machine have. When we want to think about automation, it is wrong to compare the abilities of a single human driver to a single self-driving car, or of a single human doctor to a single AI doctor. We should compare the abilities of a collection of humans to the abilities of an integrated, updated network. For example, many drivers are unfamiliar with all the changing traffic regulations, and they often violate them. In addition, since every car is an entity, when two cars approach the same junction at the same time, the drivers might miscommunicate their intentions, and suddenly we got a traffic accident. Self-driving cars, in contrast, can all be connected to one another. When two such cars approach the same junction, they are not really two separate entities. They are parts of a single algorithm. No misunderstandings anymore. Let's take the COVID-19 as an example. One health or medical organization somewhere in the world manages to get a new information about the disease, its symptoms, or ways to treatment. It is almost impossible to update all the human doctors in the world about the new information. In contrast, you can actually update tens of billions of AI doctors almost instantly. It is estimated that something around 1.25 million people are killed annually in traffic accidents, twice the number killed by war, crime, and terrorism combined. More than 90% of these accidents are caused by human errors. Drivers who sleep, get distracted, hungry, angry, drunk, or whatever. Self-driving vehicles will never do any of these things. Yeah, of course, they are gonna suffer from their own problems and limitations. Some accidents are inevitable, actually. But if we replace all human drivers by computers, it is expected to reduce deaths and injuries on the road by about 90%. We're talking about 1 million lives every year. With all that in mind, it would be madness to block automation in fields such as transport and healthcare just in order to protect human jobs. I mean, drivers and doctors, as me, will just have to find something else to do. It should be noted that it is not as easy in every field. It will be much more difficult to replace humans with the machines in less routine jobs. We're gonna have AI fastläge or family doctor way before we have a reliable nurse robot, for example. We don't need humans to sell us music anymore. We can download them directly from iTunes store, for example. But composers, musicians, singers, and DJs are still flesh and blood. In any case, and in the long run, no job will remain absolutely safe from automation. For a long period of time, people looked at emotions to be some mystical phenomenon, but in fact, they are the result of a biochemical process. So, in the not too distant future, a machine learning algorithm is going to be able to analyze the biometric process you have in your body through some sensors on or inside your body. I mean, we have all seen Elon Musk's brain chip, right? If the algorithm managed to really understand your emotional situation, it's not going to be hard to suggest a song or a movie that is really going to have a major effect on you. Suppose you just had a major fight with your boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever you are into, and it ended in a painful breakup. The algorithm in charge of your sound system will immediately, and based on what it knows about you personally and about human psychology in general, it will play songs tailored to be perfect for your emotional situation. And keep in mind that this particular song might not work well with other people. It is just perfect for you. And when it is time to go on in life, the same algorithm would play the one song in the world that is likely to cheer you up. It's easy to say no human DJ could ever hope to match the skills of such an AI. As we mentioned earlier, automation has always created new jobs. AI might help create new jobs as well, but I think in another way. Instead of humans competing with AI, it's all gonna be about cooperation. For example, the replacement of human pilots by drones has eliminated some jobs, but created many new opportunities in maintenance, remote control, data analysis, and cybersecurity. The problem with all such new human jobs AI is creating is that they will probably demand high levels of expertise and will therefore not solve the problems of unemployed, unskilled workers. In the beginning of the last century, a farm worker who lost his job due to the machinization of agriculture could find a new job in a factory producing tractors, for example. In 1980, an unemployed factory worker could start working as a cashier in a supermarket. Such changes were feasible because the move from the farm to the factory and from the factory to the supermarket required actually only limited retraining. Today, we can notice that we are having less and less cashiers, for example. Automated cashiers are very popular here in Norway. So, in the close future, a cashier or textile worker losing their job to a robot will hardly be able to start working as a cancer researcher or as a drone operator or as a part of a human AI banking team. A 40-year-old unemployed cashier who manages through some superhuman efforts to reinvent herself as a drone pilot might have to reinvent herself again 10 years later, because by then the flying of drones may also have been automated, and so on. I once read an article suggesting that retirement age for millennials is expected to be something more than 80. It is a 20 years jump from what it is right now. The article goes on to say that we are expected to have no less than 5 careers, not jobs, careers, throughout the span of the 50 or 55 years working period. What are the jobs we're gonna be having then? On the 7th of December 2017, a critical milestone was reached. Not when a computer defeated a human at chess, that's old news actually, but when Google's AlphaZero program defeated the Stockfish 8 program. To give you some context, dear listeners, Stockfish 8 was the world's computer chess champion for 2016. And yes, computers have their own world chess championship. It had access to centuries of accumulated human experience in chess, as well as to decades of computer experience. It was able to calculate 70 million chess positions per second. In contrast, AlphaZero performed only 80,000 calculations per second. And its human creators never taught it any chess strategies at all. They just made AlphaZero use the latest machine learning principles to self-learn chess by playing against itself. Now, out of 100 games between Stockfish 8 and AlphaZero, AlphaZero won 28 and tied 72. It did not lose even once. Since AlphaZero learned nothing from any human, many of its winning moves and strategies seemed unconventional to human eyes. Okay, what is the new thing here? Well, how long do you think it took AlphaZero to learn chess from scratch? 4 hours only. Now back to the job problem. Potential solutions to solve this issue fall into three main categories. What to do in order to prevent jobs from being lost, what to do in order to create new enough jobs, and what to do if, despite of all our best efforts, job losses significantly outweighed job creation. Preventing job losses altogether is an unattractive strategy, I would say, because it means stopping all AI activities and giving up the immense positive potential of AI and robotics in our life. However, slowing down the pace of changing may give us some time to create enough new jobs to replace most of the losses. But this is easier said than done. Some may argue that humans could never become economically irrelevant because even if they cannot compete with AI in the workplace, they will always be needed as consumers. Well, that is a good point, but I'm not sure that the future economy will actually need us even as consumers. I mean, machines and computers could do that too. Well, this is a very, very, very long shot, but theoretically speaking, and try to focus with me here. You can have an economy in which a mining corporation produces and sells iron to a robotics corporation. The robotics corporation produces and sells robots to the mining corporation, which mines more iron, which is used to produce more robots, and so on. Yeah, I know it might sound silly, but it's not impossible. Today, for example, algorithms are becoming the most important buyers of bonds, shares, and commodities. Similarly, in the advertisement business, the most important customer of all is actually an algorithm, the Google search algorithm. When internet geeks design web pages, they are way interested in the taste of the Google search algorithm rather than to the taste of any human being. You wonder why? It is because the Google search algorithm has a very sophisticated taste when it comes to ranking the web pages and the search results. Now again, back to our subject. Solutions. One of the suggested solutions is providing people with what is called universal basic income, which is a government program in which every adult citizen receives a set amount of money on a regular basis, whether they have worked or not. Some countries have tested this concept. I think Finland, some places in Canada, Netherlands, yeah. But there are two tiny problems when we try to globalize this concept. They are about the definition of both words, universal and basic. What is universal? The problem with such a national system is that their main victims of automation may not live in Finland, Canada, or Amsterdam. Globalization has made people in one country extremely dependent on markets in other countries. Just think of clothes industry in Asia. Today, millions of people in Bangladesh make a living by producing shirts and dresses and selling them to customers in the US and Europe. How would their life be with the rise of AI and 3D printers? Instead of manufacturing a shirt in Bangladesh and shipping it all the way to the West, you could buy the shirt's code online from Amazon and print it in New York or London. Now, who would convince economic giants in the West to share their revenue with the poor people in South Asia who lost their jobs for 3D printers? Who would be able to convince us normal people to pay taxes to secure a universal income to people far away in another continent. What is basic? As we mentioned earlier, universal basic support is meant to take care of basic human needs. But there is no accepted definition of basic human needs. Let's take that in details. When we say basic for a purely biological perspective, a person needs something between 1,500 and 2,500 calories per day in order to survive. Anything more is luxury. But is it basic to eat cake? Or is it basic just to eat bread all day long? Let's talk education. Is it basic just to learn reading and writing? Just 6 years of elementary school, or everything up to a PhD? And you can, of course, ask the same questions about health services and all other services. I hope that you liked the episode. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time. Ha det gott.